Hello, dear viewers. It is time again for the news in English on Rwanda Television. You will be with me, Sarah Shinhori. We'll begin with the headlines. The 18th National Mushyikirano Council has come to a close in Kigali, with Rwandans called upon to work harder for the betterment of the country's future. The 69th ACI Regional Conference is now officially underway here in Kigali. Thank you again for joining us. Now the details. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame, has urged Rwandans to work hard and efficiently while protecting themselves from bad habits for the country to be able to achieve its objectives. The head of state made these comments on Tuesday as he concluded the 18th National Mushyikirano Council. We have the details with Prince Manzi.
On its second day that marked its ending, the 18th National Mushyikirano Council had various discussions, including the status on the national unity and reconciliation, building strong families and communities, and demonstrating for Rwandans how different levels, especially district levels, achieved the 2021-2022 Imihigo performance contracts. In his National Mushyikirano Council closing remarks, President Paul Kagame emphasized that the insertion is the take-home from this dialogue, otherwise the dialogue would be useless. Here, the President iterates that there should be that sense of urgency for the country to achieve its ambitions. Us and our goals as Rwandans, all that we want to achieve faster, to achieve efficiently, there should be that sense of urgency. We are behind, so we have to work hard and fast to achieve where others are. You cannot be moving slow and reach those that are moving fast. And I don't think we are happy for we are behind. President Paul Kagame reiterates that for all this to be achieved, everyone should prevent being careless whenever sees anything that would damage the nation. In us, in public sectors, and in our collaboration, we lack one who could tell the colleague that actually what you are doing is not right. Only that, to tell your colleague that you are wrong on this and demonstrate why it is wrong. Instead, one sees the criminal and acts as if he did not see him, and if the crime is beneficial, temporarily, it means that you will not report the criminal so that in the future, no one will report you when you do the same. And it becomes agreeing in the crime. But you should tell your colleagues to stop. It is not right. It will affect our development, not one person. Different leaders of public institutions, religions, and private sector state that they learned a lot in this National Mushyikirano Council. We saw issues people face. We have to put more effort into sending children to schools, as we saw a big number of children that do not go to school or drop out. We have also to put more effort for leaders to approach citizens. I appreciated today's session because they commented on the issues that I personally believed were challenging, like family issues, Imihigo issues, collaboration between leaders and citizens, and the speech of His Excellency was very important. There is a strong message to us leaders from His Excellency. The message urging us to follow up on our assignments and working together. The resolutions of the 18th National Mushyikirano Council will be published soon after being revised. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
The issue of the ideology of genocide in the Democratic Republic of Congo was also brought up at the National Mushyikirano Council. During the discussions that focused on Rwandan unity, the Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Dr. Jean Damascene Bizimana, reiterated that the problem is one of the threats to the unity of all Rwandans. Jessica Gasaro with more.
The Minister of the National Unit and Civic Engagement, Dr. Bizimana Jean Damascene, points out that there are 8 government programs that Rwandan have shown at a rate of more than 93% that make them proud of how far we are in terms of unity and reconciliation.
Among the programs, there are Ndi Umunyarwanda, Good Education, Commemoration of the Genocide against the Tutsi, Civic Education Training, Girinka. All these 5 programs are praised by more than 98% of Rwandans. There is also good governance, security, and equal opportunities and equal rights for all that are appreciated by over 93%.
When you talk to people from different backgrounds, they testify that the unity of Rwandans has taken roots among them.
Reconciliation seems to have been achieved because when a person comes to shop, he does not look at whether he's a Hutu or a Tutsi or a Twa. Even if all of you were a Twa, they will still buy and not care about anything else. If someone is going to buy beans, he will not look at who is the seller, they will only look at what they are coming to buy.
What needs to be done is to try to teach youth about the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, so it doesn't happen again. Eric Mahoro, the Deputy Executive Director of Never Again Rwanda, says that the unity of Rwandans has been achieved due to what has been done based on national politics.
Aho usanga mu bice binyuranye by'imibereho y'igihugu.
Where in different parts of the country's social life, unity and reconciliation are taking precedence. When you go to look at the basic principles of governance, including the exclusion of different groups of Rwandans in different programs such as education, healthcare, and everything else that is going on, it appears to promote the principle of the unity of Rwandans. Our research shows that unity and integrity have been built in the past 28 years after the genocide against the Tutsi was stopped.
Ubumwe n'ubudaheranwa byiyubatse cyane mu myaka 28 ishize jenoside yakorewe abatutsi hagaritswe.
Only 26.9% of Rwandans still have wounds from history, and this shows that they cause instability even in the youth. The unity of Rwandan people is also affected by the ideology of the genocide. This ideology raises a lot in terms of commemoration and is also seen among young people. Figures show that the commemoration of the year 2021, 57 of the 184 people who were prosecuted for the crime were young people who were exposed to the genocide ideology. And during the commemoration of last year in 2022, the ideology of the genocide appeared in 44 young people out of 179 people prosecuted for that crime. Only this problem is decreasing if you look at the last 5 years from 2018 to 2022. The ideology in the country decreased by 17.5%. The Minister of the National Unit and Civic Engagement also showed that the genocide ideology in the region threatens the unity of Rwandan.
Mu gihe ariko u Rwanda rutera intambwe mu guhashya ingengabitekerezo ya jenoside no kubaka ubumwe bw'abanyagihugu rukomwa mu nkokora na gahunda zo gukwira.
While Rwanda is making strides in suppressing the ideology of genocide and building unity, there are people working together with programs to spread hate dialects in the region and abroad. Lies and murders are targeting other Congolese who speak Kinyarwanda, especially the Tutsi. Hatred and murder are openly committed, and the international community and MONUSCO forces are there watching, as it was in Rwanda between 1992 and 1994, when the ideology called Hutu power was spread, and the Interahamwe and Mpuzamugambi, TLM and other newspapers were established. The words of bad politicians will encourage the people to commit genocide in the face of the MINUAR forces that was in Rwanda at that time. The words and lies taught by some Congolese and delivered by some foreigners threaten the unity of Rwandans and relations with neighbors, because when the lie is always repeated, some take it to be the truth. Some of the rumors that they are spreading are the following: lying that M23 is consisted of Rwandans and that it is supported by Rwandans, and yet M23 are Congolese. Another lie is that Rwanda is seeking minerals in Congo. However, in 1935, the Belgians are the ones who discovered minerals in Rwanda and created different societies that will take care of these minerals. And to this day, these minerals are still in Rwanda and did not end with colonialism.
Rwanda n'izindi kandi n'ubu amabuye y'agaciro acyaboneka henshi mu Rwanda ntiyarangiranye n'ubukoloni.
The Ministry of the National Unit and Civic Engagement also show that there is a need to increase Ndi Umunyarwanda talks in the country and abroad and at all levels, to renovate civic education training at the village level and include it in the annual planning at every level. There is a need to properly prepare good teachers of history and civic education and to teach history in all departments of college and universities so that the Rwandan who graduate from it will have knowledge. A survey conducted in 2020 shows that 94.7% of Rwandan believe that unit has been achieved. Jessica Agasaro, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Jessica. Now to other matters. The agricultural sector in Rwanda is very important and is part of the country's Vision 2050. It also contributes to 62.3% of all employment and as such was central at the 18th National Mshichirano Council. On the sidelines of the gathering, RBA's Isabel Masozera sat down with Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, for a deep dive into what was tabled and the way forward. We have that as well.
This Umushikirano is coming after a while. We last had one in 2019, and I can imagine there's been a lot of pressing issues for the general public in terms of agriculture, noting the fact that it's one of the biggest employers for Rwandans at the moment. I want to hear from you so far of what has been discussed. What has been the highlight for this sector for you?
Since there has been a long time without Mushichirano, of course, as you mentioned, a lot of issues on sport. But what is pressing at the moment is that we are facing high food prices. Yes. And this is a result of what the world has been going through over the past 3 years since COVID and the war in Russia-Ukraine. That has also affected the prices of fertilizers. I mean, mineral fertilizers we import and we use mostly for our farms. And again, this was not enough, and then we have a serious drought that affected our country last year, even before last year, affecting mostly the eastern and southern provinces of Rwanda. And this has affected the productivity. So we have limited our supply of food. Though we are trying to recover, we got late rain, but then we are trying to recover and on some commodities, but some like beans and others have been seriously affected. And again, this geopolitics has also increased the prices of imported commodities. So we are having a discussion, how can we now sustain the food security of this country? The problem, we have to make sure that we ensure Rwandans are food secure and eat. Yeah.
Yes, we have to forge forward. Now, one of the ways to ensure that is we need to be able to guard and protect the little that we have. The issue of storage keeps coming up. Is this something that you are looking into and are addressing? And could you maybe unpack some of the ways you're doing that at the moment?
Mm-hmm. So the issue of storage is one small piece of the big plan of the post-harvest management, yes. Which is, of course, storage is one of them. We can talk about storage in two ways. One on farm level, maybe like farmers who need to store what they eat, what they need for their survival. But also there is storage in terms of what the country has to do at a strategic level to make sure that if there is unusual circumstances, yes, we provide mostly for grains. But the post-harvest management is a long plan. It includes even the best practice for harvesting. And then it goes to the logistical arrangement to transport food from the farm to the market, from the farm to the plate and so forth. And then includes also the value addition. Mm-hmm. So this, what we are doing, make sure that the whole post-harvest management processes they have to go well, and to make sure we don't lose, we don't waste our food. We had something, and we realized it's not enough. So maybe last year we believed that maybe we are up to 60%. But now, with increasing productivity, and we need to provide more. And then if now we increase productivity, if we, now the demand, the export, and everything, if we include the cold chain and everything, now we realize if we go proper assessment, I think we are still less than 50%. And that's now it is, so that we may make sure that we may not think, if we think bold, we realize we are still less than 50% in terms of the facilities we need to make sure all our products are well taken care of, and they reach the consumers and the market in good conditions.
Now, as looking at what Rwanda, some of the Rwandans are trying to do, and also some of the markets that are, for example, Holland is almost as small as Rwanda, but they are now exploring high-tech, things like green farming, and they're major exporters globally. Are these, innovations that Rwanda is tapping into? Yesterday, we had a lot of conversations around what we can do in the space of marrying technology and agriculture.
Yes, I think this is a very important conversation, and this is critical at this particular moment. And I think, as you are aware, this Mushano started with the announcing of the census result. And the result shows that the population has increased by 2.6% from over the past 10 years, 2 million more people to feed. So, and as you know, the country remained unchanged, the area under cultivation. Even if you sit there under cultivation, there is a scenario may say it has reduced because most of the farms have been, sometimes are being used for construction and the other things, for industrial development and others. So, and then this brings an emergency to increase productivity. So beyond the usual. That means we have to think out of the box. Of course, our productivity per hectare of major crops are still lower than the international averages, most of them. And the purpose of bringing these chemical fertilizers, sensitizing people using organic manures, intensification from maybe the little we are using, maybe 32 metric tons per hectare, then we are now increasing up to 60 metric tons per hectare, and the purpose is to go beyond that, and to make sure that at least we maximize what we can get on our small farms. And also the element you brought, we also bring some innovations around, because we are trying also this green farming, using the greenhouses, because where we have been trying, we have supporting farmers, young entrepreneurs who want to tap in this modern agriculture. And we are providing matching grant for people who want to use screen houses for mostly vegetables and others. And it is giving good results. So we are working in a few districts, 9, but farmers who got these greenhouses have almost multiplied their productivity by 5, compared to the area they were using in open air. So it's a game changer, it's safe.
I was privy to the panel session that you were in, and there were so many issues that were raised and a lot of hope coming definitely from your side. But as we close this session, I want to ask, what has been your biggest take home from the experience of this year's Umushikirano that you're taking back with you to embark on making sure you have better results next year?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think well, the Mushikirano, there was my intervention, there was an intervention of the Prime Minister, there was an intervention of the President of the Republic of Rwanda. So we are trying to do many things as the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources to make sure that we increase productivity, we make sure we fight this climate change that is also limiting our capabilities to produce more. But though we have a good initiative, though we have a lot of things to do, we know the agenda, we know what to do, we know what it requires. But now, what makes happen, the implementation point of view, and that brings the element that the president gave us, or the message he gave us, to monitor and make sure that we follow up everything we do. So it's not about we have a good policies that are being implemented, so we have to be on ground and see if the projects are being implemented, if people are in place, if people are not having difficulties, if this thing we are talking about, climate change, fertilizers, irrigation, are they being optimized? Are they supposed to be?
Yes.
So the take home is to make sure we monitor the progress and
Follow
make sure
up.
that at least we know even our failure if it is, but God forbid, we are sure we succeed. By next year, we say, maybe we have a good report, we monitored, and we find this works, and we find this doesn't work. Then we choose the what that works for the future.
Isabel Masozera speaking to Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources. That was earlier today. Thank you, Isabel, for that interview. Now, staying with the Mushikirano, different institutions have continued to stress that the family unit is the strength of any nation, and that families must have proper values and be able to raise future generations in a proper way. But research has shown that family conflicts can result in the stunting of children. Betty Mutoni with the details on that.
Building a strong family requires a family to have its own values. The Minister of Gender and Family Promotion, Professor Baiseng Jeanette, noted that a family is a strength of a nation. To be called a family, you must have a name, values, and knowledgeable. It means that it is a family that grows out of poverty, a family that does not have beggars, which is safe, a family that is at peace, discussions amongst the family members, cleanliness. So if I build my own family and you do the same, we shall build a strong and good families. Government of Rwanda, together with their partners, have established various programs such as Girinka Munyarwanda and VUP to help families to develop. But there is a challenge of some people who are not responsible for their families, as it is explained by Musabyimana Jean-Claude, the Minister of Local Government.
Around the city, we see parents with children. You find the mother, instead of taking care of him well, train him good values and more. She carries a baby and even borrowed the ones for the neighbors just to use them in begging. That is not good. In the village, when the chicken get lost, the whole village gather and look for it, but you find the child missing, but no one notes, even his own family. No one is asking about that child. We have to change our mindsets and know that values are very important.
Our Past Initiative Managing Director, Christian Inwari, noted some of the challenges that youth may face caused by growing up in conflicted families, but also there are other problems brought to them by themselves, as he explains.
These include bad company, being with people you can't advise each other, wanting to live a life that is more expensive than what we can afford, and getting rich in a short period.
Dr. Sabin Sanzimana, the Minister of Health, noted that every family needs good health, because without health nothing is possible, because the research was made and found out that those family conflicts can result into stunting of the children.
Children's brain do not tolerate stress. They do not tolerate bad things that stop them from being free. When a family quarrels in presence of a child, the brain sends the information to other parts of the body, saying don't grow, there's a problem somewhere. The research made and found out that family conflicts can result into stunting because the brain commands other organs. To add on that, worms caused by contaminated water and malnutrition.
As it was mentioned in the National Mushyikirano Council after genocide against the Tutsi, the government of Rwanda put a lot of efforts to build strong families, where First Lady Madame Jeannette Kagame put efforts in creating families for those who didn't have families, such as Maraika Murin's family for the children without one, where 90% of children are in families. The research made by RBC last year of 2022 showed that the number of people with high blood pressure increased from 15 to 17% in just 2 years. Diabetes is at 3%, while people with obesity multiplied twice. Betty Mutoni.
Now, good service delivery and adequate security at airports have again been stressed as key contributors to the development of aviation here in Africa. This was reiterated by the minister, that is the Rwandan Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Ernest Nsabimana, in his opening remarks at the 69th ACI Regional Conference here in Kigali. Adam Squizera with more.
The aviation sector is among the sectors which were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the war between Russia and Ukraine, where all this contributed to the rise of fuel price. However, some airport managers point out that there are some steps being taken for the economic recovery and development of this sector.
The aviation sector in Africa is growing at a fast rate despite the recent setbacks brought about by COVID-19. The recovery has been impressive because we are all committed to making this industry work.
Despite of some of these headwinds, we are on the right path for the full recovery. Under the current projection, global passenger traffic expected to recover 2019 numbers in 2024. This is largely driven by domestic travel, which is projected to recover faster, while international travel is forecast to recover only by 2025.
Poor service delivery at the airport is one of the most raised issues by the passengers. This is why Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Ernest Nsabimana, urged these leaders to put some efforts by improving safety and service delivery.
We need not only functioning airport and air navigation services, but rather thriving, safe, secure, and welcoming airports. Call for urgent action to shape up the way we operate the airport business in Africa and shape up a better Africa airport industry. There is no better time to reiterate this call than now.
This 69th ACI Regional Conference is scheduled to take 8 days, where the key points on the menu regards on the development of this sector on the African continent, plus the exhibition, which brought together various air transport companies. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
We've come to the end of this edition of the news, but of course, Rwanda Television continues to bring you good programs, so stay with us and goodbye.